The top 3 eye contact mistakes which women hate when meeting somebody. That's what this video is all about, because with your eyes you communicate often a lot to a woman without having to say anything at all. Often, this even happens without you even realizing it. You're just talking to a woman and at the same time accidentally communicate to her the absolute wrong things without your own knowledge. And suddenly this woman turns ice cold and completely loses interest in you simply because eye contact is a huge part of your communication and body language. Top eye contact mistake number 1, wandering eyes. If there's one thing women really hate when talking to men, it's that once you're talking to her, your eyes wander around the room to beautiful women. Women almost have a sixth sense for this. They notice it every single time and it's just a massive turn off for them. It gives the woman you're talking to the feeling that she's either not interesting or important enough for you, and that she's nothing but a placeholder for the woman you actually want, but at the moment can't get because she's either too hot or you simply haven't met her yet. When a woman meets you, she wants to have a feeling that she's got your full attention and that you're not constantly scanning a room for other hot women whom you might want to meet. So pull yourself together, even though this might sometimes be hard. Top eye contact mistake number 2, the steak look. Now, if there's one thing that men do absolutely wrong with women, is when they give her the so-called steak look. They're staring at her as if she was a juicy steak while they're mentally undressing her and think of all the things they'd love to do with this woman. And they're thinking about all these things without mentioning them. The problem is that you come across as such a creep and turnoff that you're already ruining the first meeting before you even had the opportunity of saying or doing anything. So you're lost before you even open your mouth, simply because you constantly gave her the steak look. An incredibly effective habit you should pick up is that you either approach a hot woman when you see her or you don't. Either do it or leave it completely. There's nothing in between. This means when you're looking at her and she looks back at you, or maybe a bit shyly looks on the floor, or simply realizes that you look to her, you have to talk to her. And if you're not ready at the moment, you better completely let it be and ignore her. So it's 1,000 times better to just ignore her so that she might get the impression that you haven't noticed her, that you're not interested, or that you might already be taken, which still makes you more attractive. Because if you're constantly giving her this deadly steak look, you just let her know, I'd love to do all these dirty things with you, but I just don't dare to come over and talk to you. Before we move on to the third mistake, please leave a positive review for this video and share it with other men so it can help them too. I'd really appreciate it. Top eye contact mistake number 3, the secretive sex look. Don't we all know it? We're talking to a woman and we're constantly giving her secretive looks while we chat. Maybe at her breasts, her legs, her butt, or some other part we really find sexy about her. The problem is that you look there, but that you're trying to do it secretly, as if you were ashamed to do it and as if the women didn't notice it. First of all, the woman instantly gets it. And secondly, you let her know that you're actually not interested in her personality, but that you basically just want her body. It also shows a lot of insecurity when you're trying to hide it all. It would be something different, if you're the type for this of course, if you said, I can't concentrate. I constantly have to look at your cleavage. They look so hot, you know. If you bring it up while you're looking at them, she might just start to laugh. It might be a little bit embarrassing for her. She gets embarrassed and maybe blushes a bit, but you were extremely sexual and you said what you thought in the moment you thought it. And that displays a lot of confidence. And then you can say things like, oh, turn around. I can't concentrate if I see your cleavage in front of me, you know. And then she turns around and then you say, oh gosh, but your butt is even hotter. You know, get away from me. And then she laughs and catches on to it. And that's just really cool because it allowed you to be extremely sexual without hiding that you find her sexually attractive. That could be a school book example of how you can be playful and sexual at the same time. In addition, as I said before, you'll come across as incredibly confident. Plus, you're complimenting on her beauty and on what her beauty does to you. And that's something that women absolutely love. However, there are dozens of other dangerous eye contact mistakes, conversation killers, and ways of bad body language, which can lead women who love you to being ice cold and losing interest in you. And in order to learn about and avoid all of them, get started by reading and testing my bestseller, Kissing Women and Making Them Fall in Love with You in 30 Seconds, by clicking the free download button. It really is absolutely amazing, and I think you'll really love it. In addition, you'll regularly get emails and training videos and secret weapons completely for free. We'll also analyze your personal situation in order to make sure that you can reach your personal goals regarding women as soon as possible. So click the free download button now, and I'll see you on the other website in the full course, Kissing Women and Making Them Fall in Love with You in 30 Seconds.